Revenge films.
My name is Melissa. I live with my husband, Richard, and our two sons who are in elementary school. Our oldest son, Henry, is 10 years old, and he's a very active little kid. However, our second son, Thomas, was born with an incurable disease, and we were told that he wouldn't make it past 5 years old. And even though we are in and out of the hospital, he was fighting really hard against his disease. Because of the stress, I also fell ill about 2 years ago, and every day was a struggle to get by. After receiving treatment, my health slowly started to recover, and 2 years later, I was finally healed. But just as I was getting better, Thomas passed away at 8 years old. Even though I was devastated, I knew that we had to get through it together as a family. And after the funeral, I desperately held back my tears so that we could try to regain a normal life. However, at the time, my husband, who was always very mild-mannered, suddenly changed into a different person, and he started saying things that made me doubt my ears.
I'm home!
Welcome home, honey.
You were home all day again today? How long are you going to be a full-time housewife for? You're like a parasite around here.
What did you just say?
You don't even work, and you just laze about the house all day. So I asked if you're a parasite.
How could you? You were the one that told me that I could be a full-time housewife so that I could take care of Thomas. Have you forgotten already?
Well, that baggage is finally gone, so hurry up and get to work already.
Baggage? That's what you were thinking of our Thomas?
Obviously. I wish we didn't have that troublesome kid who cost us so much money.
How could you? Tell me you're joking. Tell me that you don't really think that. This was our precious child, wasn't it? And you loved him so much. How could you say that out of nowhere?
Shut up! I'm also exhausted.
I was so shocked by my husband, who changed the moment that our youngest son passed away, and I thought I was going to go crazy from anger. But then, as if to rub salt into the wound, it only got worse. One day, my husband suddenly told me that he wanted to get a divorce. Not only that, he said that he was going to collect a settlement fee from me for neglecting the chores and abusing our children. It was true that when I fell ill, there was a time that I couldn't do anything around the house, but I never once abused our children in any way. After being served divorce papers for a reason that I had no memory of course I couldn't accept it. Wait a minute, I abused the children? What are you talking about?
You were forcing Henry to study all the time, weren't you? That's emotional abuse, isn't it? I hope you don't think a mother like that could ever gain custody. And don't forget that you were sick and unemployed, and that you're clearly at a disadvantage.
When I saw his evil face, he laughed at me. I realized that the devil really did exist in this world. From here, my husband started leaving the house at night more frequently.
If you leave the house while I'm not here and leave our kid unattended, I hope you know you're just going to be at even more of a disadvantage.
It was almost as though he was threatening me. Even if I asked where he was going, my husband would just say,
"That's none of your business."
And he would never try to tell me the truth. After claiming a divorce out of nowhere and then leaving the house at night all the time, I suspected my husband of having an affair. I wanted to do whatever it took to find some evidence, and then I asked my friend from high school, Nancy, for some help. When I explained the situation to her, Nancy was furious with my husband, and she said that she would do whatever it took to help me find evidence against him. I was relieved to have her on my side. The next time my husband left the house, I called Nancy and I asked her to follow him. Because I couldn't leave the house with our child, she took my place to get photos and videos by secretly following after him. When she came back, there was Richard going in and out of a hotel with a woman that I had seen before. That woman was my husband's colleague, whom I met at a company barbecue in the past. And she was a once-divorced single mother. Even though there were videos of them going into the hotel together, I didn't think that it was enough evidence. So I decided that I shouldn't give up there and chased after videos that would secure the affair. A few days after that, on his day off, my husband left the house in the afternoon. And that day, my son was going camping with his friend's family. So I was home alone for the first time in a while. I thought it might be an opportunity to follow my husband. But it had already been over an hour since he left the house, so I gave up. But then, at that moment, I got a phone call from Nancy.
Hello? I just happened to see your husband's car by coincidence, but that woman is riding in the passenger seat. What do you want to do? Should I follow them?
What? Where are you right now? I'm home alone right now, so I'll head right over there. I hopped in my car and headed straight to the location that Nancy sent me. When I followed the GPS in my car, I got to a parking lot deep into the mountains where I didn't see any other people there. I found Nancy's car parked, but I didn't see my husband's car anywhere. Nancy jumped out of her car, and in a panic, she came running over to me. I followed her deeper into the mountain, and that's where I saw Richard's car. The car was shaking and making noise, and from inside, we could hear the unmistakable sounds of a man and a woman. We approached the car without getting noticed and managed to get a video inside of the car. On the screen was my husband and his cheating partner naked and all over each other. Once we succeeded in getting the videos, we rushed back to our cars and headed towards the cafe. There, we confirmed that we had crystal clear evidence, and we celebrated that we finally got definitive evidence. Richard, who didn't know anything, started a trial of custody for Henry, and without telling him that I knew about his affair, I agreed. In court, my husband put on an act that I had neglected my chores and abused the children, and that he was trying to collect a settlement fee from me of $30,000. At that moment, I presented the video of him and a woman having intercourse in the car as evidence of his affair, and my husband froze with his jaw on the ground. I, in turn, said that I was suing him for $30,000, and now my husband was at a disadvantage. He started to panic.
What is this video? Did you take this?
Yeah, why? Did you think that I hadn't noticed that you were cheating on me?
If I knew that you had that footage, I never would have started this trial. Did you set me up?
All I did was present the truth, that's all. By the way, I also sent the footage to your company already.
You're lying, right? What have you done?
In the end, because the affair was obvious, I was able to gain full custody of Henry. My husband was ordered to pay a settlement fee and child support fees to me. When I told Nancy, she was so happy for me, as if it were her own trial. After that, I sent the woman the footage and gave her a call. It turned out that the woman and my husband were planning on living together with both of their kids, and that she had already bought a house. After the divorce, she didn't want Richard to interact with me, and they came up with this plan for me to not be able to see Henry anymore. For that reason, she tried to make me lose custody of Henry. It was so selfish, and of course I couldn't forgive her for it, so I sued her too. But when I sued her, the woman said that she was going to marry my husband and that they would pay it together, and she seemed very confident in court. However, because my husband initiated the trial based on what she had told him to do, he was furious that he had to pay a settlement fee in the end. The two got into a huge fight, and everything fell apart. The woman had to not only pay the settlement fee to me, but also the mortgage on the house by herself. On top of that, rumors of the affair spread throughout the office, and she lost her job as well. After all of her plans were ruined, she was stuck living in an unnecessarily large house with just her child and herself. She lost her job and her family that she thought she would have, and I heard that she was working morning until night from job to job because no company would hire her. In the end, after living a life in poverty and unable to pay the bills, she and her daughter ran away in the middle of the night. As for my ex-husband, he broke up with the woman he was cheating on me with, and since the company knew of the affair, he was fired. In order to pay the child support fees and rent, he desperately looked for a new job, but also had a difficulty finding anybody to hire him. He begged me to delay the child support payments, and he called me multiple times, but I rejected all of them. He had to borrow money from his parents and his relatives, and eventually he was disowned by his family, left all alone to figure it out. I found this out later, but my husband and that woman started their affair while I was being treated for depression, and that they were waiting the entire time for the opportunity to get a divorce. After spending his time without anybody around him, he must have finally realized how awful what he did was, and he sent me a very long apology letter addressed to me and Henry expressing his regret. But no matter how many times he apologized, I, of course, had no intention of forgiving my ex-husband. And after the divorce, I cut off all contact with him. As soon as the divorce went through, I moved back into my parents' house with Henry, and I was able to find a part-time job quickly. I was back on my feet, and we were able to live a stable life. All I could think about is making my son happy, who stood by me the whole time.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.